Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial by photoshopeducation.blogspot.com. Today we're going to show you how to create a miniature model, or it's also known as a tilt shift effect in Photoshop. Now some photos are actually a lot easier to create this effect in, such as this one. It's shot from above and it's shot on an angle and you have a light source coming down. That is important. That's going to make it a lot easier. If you're shooting something more at eye level, you can do it, but it's going to be a lot harder to fool the person. The reason for that is a normal miniature model, when we look at it, we're looking at it from above, and usually the light source is from above. So when it's at eye level, it's a little bit harder to fool the person, but this is a good image. The problem is it doesn't have just one building. We've got multiple houses here, but we'll show you how you can actually fix each house if it's not perfect. If you haven't already, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the post and you'll find an image called Download Supporting Files. Left click on that and you'll download this PE-min image. Once you have it downloaded, go ahead and open it up, and the first thing we want to do is duplicate that background layer. Let's do a Control J, and for today's tutorial we'll just change this to the top layer to something like tilt shift. So we got two layers. The top layer is selected. We left click on that, add layer mask in the layers palette. That creates that layer mask. Next thing we want to do is do a D to reset our foreground and background color, and then do an X that will flip the black to be foreground. And that's important here because we're going to be using here the gradient tool, which we've talked about in the past. Now the first thing we want to do is make sure that this is set to foreground to transparent, and the options up here, the second one from the right is called reflected gradient, and if we left click on that, that's what we want to use for this one. And it's going to be different for each photo. This is probably the most important step. You just want to play with this and get this gradient correct, this mask correct, because if it's not correct, you're going to have to definitely do a lot more tweaking and fixing later. But we can definitely do that and fix it later, and we'll show you how to do that. Go to about this roof line, maybe about halfway down, hold down that shift key, hold down the left mouse button, drag it down to about right here, and release the left mouse button and release the shift key. You'll notice it didn't do a whole lot here because you don't see anything, but you'll notice this layer mask has this black line. That's important. Left click on the actual thumbnail of the top layer. We don't want it on the mask. And then left click on filter, come down to blur. And if you don't see lens blur, that means you're using an older version of Photoshop, and you could use Gaussian blur, and that would work well. Lens blur seems to work a little bit better. First area you would definitely want to do is this source option here, drop down box. Most of the time it's going to show none, but you want it set to layer mask. The next area you really want to play around with is this radius. The higher the radius, it's going to be more blurred. It's really going to be based on your actual photo, on what you want it to, should it look like. So maybe a 15 might work well here, and then we can left click OK. You'll notice that it did a fairly good job. Problem is there's real no easy way to go around these buildings, because you're not going to find, you shouldn't find an object that's half blurred and half focused. So this is where we're going to have to fix it. Let's go ahead and left click on that layer mask, change to a paintbrush, and all we're doing here is sharpening these blurred areas so it matches that specific building. And it's really up to you on what you feel should be blurred and what you feel it shouldn't be blurred. So maybe we go up here, we did a little bit here, we need this blurred, and all we're doing is using X to flip around the colors, white and then black. Maybe we feel that this should be all focused in. It's really up to you. You don't want to definitely do the whole picture, or else it kind of defeats the purpose of actually blurring it. Now we're doing this very quickly, but let's see here. There we go. Maybe this building over here definitely needs this cleared up here, focused in, and it's really going to be up to your preference on what you feel should be blurred, what you feel should be focused. And once you're done, you're going to have a basic miniature model. It's going to look fairly well. There will be a few things we can do here to actually make it look a little bit more convincing. As we said, this is not going to be perfect, but it's definitely a good start. There are other tutorials on the internet that will take this step a little bit further and show you some more ways to make this look like a miniature model. There's other techniques to get it this far, such as the quick mask technique. We're using a layer mask. We like it because, as you can see here, is if we accidentally did that, we can flip it to the white color and then come back in and then re-blur it. Now the next area is we want to actually, most of the time when you're looking at a model, miniature model, it's more of a plastic look. So let's go ahead and left click this background layer, and we can do a Control U, which is hue and saturation, which we've talked about in the past. And under the master, let's turn up the saturation maybe to 18, 19. Before you left click OK, we want to notice that there's some reds in here. We really want to change these. We don't need to actually change the blurred areas, and those are a little bit more red, these houses. So let's turn this up to about 19, and that will give it a nice plastic or fake look. So there's about the end result, and the beauty of making a miniature model. The beauty of this technique is you can always come back, even as long as you haven't applied this layer mask, and re-blur certain areas. Your goal here is actually to make the edging look perfect. Normally we'd use the left bracket to reduce the size of it, or a right bracket to increase the size of the brush. You're going to play around with it, not one blur or one angle. Maybe this one looks better with it blurred, and that's where you want to cut it off. It's really up to you. But now it looks like it's a miniature model. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.